Welcome back to the Potter's Drone. Today, we're taking a look at one of the most unusual and fascinating sites on the North Wales coast, the Duke of Lancaster. Permanently beached at Llanerch-y-Mor, near Mostyn on the banks of the River Dee, this enormous ship looks almost surreal from the air. But behind its weathered appearance is an incredible history stretching back more than 70 years. The Duke of Lancaster was built by the famous Harland Wolff shipyard in Belfast, the same shipbuilding company responsible for the Titanic. She was launched in December 1955 and entered service in 1956, becoming one of the last passenger steamers built for British Railways. At more than 350 feet long and around 4,450 gross tons, she was an impressive vessel for her time. Powered by twin steam turbines, the Duke of Lancaster could reach speeds of around 21 knots. Her main job was carrying passengers across the Irish Sea between Llanerch-y-Mor in Lancashire and Belfast in Northern Ireland. But this wasn't just an ordinary ferry. The interior was finished to a high standard, which meant the Duke of Lancaster could also operate as a cruise ship. During her cruising years, passengers traveled aboard her to destinations including the Scottish Islands, Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway and Spain. It's amazing to think that this ship, which has now been sitting in the same place for decades, once carried holidaymakers around Europe. As the years went on, however, the way people traveled began to change. More passengers wanted to take the cars with them, and passenger-only ferries like the Duke of Lancaster needed to adapt. The ship underwent major modifications and returned to service in 1970 as a car ferry. A vehicle entrance was installed at the stern, allowing her to carry around 105 cars as well as approximately 1,200 passengers. She continued operating across the Irish Sea, including her familiar Llanerch-y-Mor to Belfast route. After that service ended in 1975, she spent time on the Fishguard to Rosslare crossing and was also used as a relief vessel between Holyhead and Dún Laoghaire. But by 1978, after more than 2 decades at sea, the Duke of Lancaster's working life was coming to an end. She was withdrawn from service and laid up at Barrow-in-Furness. For most ships of her generation, that probably would have meant one thing: the scrapyard. Her sister ships would eventually meet that fate. But somehow, the Duke of Lancaster survived. And what happened next would turn this former passenger ship into one of the strangest tourist attractions North Wales had ever seen. Because in 1979, the Duke of Lancaster was about to begin a completely different life. In 1979, the Duke of Lancaster was purchased by a Liverpool-based company called Empirewise. And on the 10th of August that year, she arrived here at Llanerch-y-Mor on the North Wales coast. Instead of being broken up for scrap, the enormous ship was permanently beached beside the Dee Estuary. And this was the beginning of what became known as the Fun Ship. The plan was ambitious. The former ferry would be transformed into a huge leisure and retail attraction, containing shops, amusement machines and entertainment facilities. There were even bigger ideas for the surrounding site, including proposals connected with creating a hotel development. One of the most interesting parts of the Fun Ship story involved Britain's Sunday trading laws. At the time, shops on land faced restrictions on opening on Sundays, while businesses operating aboard ships could be treated differently. The owners believed that because these shops were technically aboard a ship, they could take advantage of that unusual loophole. But things didn't go according to plan. The Fun Ship became caught up in years of legal disputes, planning problems and arguments surrounding access to the site. One particularly important issue involved access for emergency vehicles, with the nearby railway bridge restricting the route into the area. Eventually, the ambitious dream of turning the Duke of Lancaster into a major tourist destination faded. And the enormous vessel was left sitting exactly where we see her today. For years, much of what had been inside remained there, almost creating a forgotten time capsule. Old coin-operated arcade machines were eventually recovered from the ship, with some becoming highly sought-after pieces for collectors. But the story still wasn't finished. In 2012 and 2013, The Duke of Lancaster was given another identity when street artists began transforming the huge sides of the vessel. Massive pieces of artwork appeared across the hull, turning this former ferry into one of Britain's most unusual outdoor art galleries. And today, the Duke of Lancaster remains permanently beached here at Llanerch-y-Mor. She's listed on the National Register of Historic Vessels and, unlike many ships from the same generation, she's still here. Her engines have been silent for decades. She'll probably never carry passengers across the Irish Sea again. But just look at what this ship has been through. A passenger ferry, a cruise ship traveling around Europe, a car ferry, the famous fun ship, an enormous canvas for street artists, and now one of the most recognizable landmarks along this part of the North Wales coast. Seeing the Duke of Lancaster from the air really gives you an idea of her incredible size. It's hard to imagine that this ship once traveled thousands of miles across open water carrying passengers, cars and holidaymakers. Now she sits completely still beside the River Dee, a remarkable survivor from another era. Whatever the future holds for the Duke of Lancaster, her story is already an incredible piece of British maritime history. Thanks for watching another video from the Potter's Drone. If you've enjoyed this look at the Duke of Lancaster, give the video a like, leave a comment, and let me know if you remember the ship in service or ever visited the fun ship. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Potter's Drone for more drone footage, history and incredible places from around the UK. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.